Can you introduce yourself, Brenda, please?
Hello, I'm Brenda O'Brien, Councillor for Derby Ward on licensing.
Thank you. And Councillor Lynn Thompson. Lynn, please.
Good morning, Councillor Lynn Thompson, in Ainsdale Ward and member of the subcommittee.
Thank you. The clerk to the subcommittee is Miss Amy Dyson. Amy.
Hi, everyone.
Our legal advisor is Miss Fiona Townsend.
Good morning.
Also in attendance is Miss Ruth Appleby, Democratic Service Officer.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. This meeting is being held using Microsoft Teams software and live streamed via YouTube. May I therefore take the opportunity to welcome everybody to the meeting and members of the public who may be viewing this online. In line with licensing subcommittee protocol, all the interested parties will be invited by myself in turn to make their representations to the subcommittee and should therefore wait until called before doing so. The subcommittee members and the interested parties are requested to turn off their cameras and mute their microphones when not addressing the meeting. When members and interested parties are called to address the meeting, they should ensure their microphones are unmuted and their cameras are turned on before speaking. For members of the public viewing this, there will be delays in between individuals speaking. I apologise for this, but it is in response to the technology we are using. Committee members have copies of the agenda and supplementary agendas. For members of the public, this documentation is available on Sefton Council's website. It is important that the meeting etiquette, which has been circulated to all attendees, is adhered to throughout the meeting. Agenda item number 3, declarations of interest. Before we continue, can I ask whether there are any councillors who have any pecuniary or disclosable personal interests to declare in respect of this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee, and if so, indicate their wish to do so by raising their hand. No declarations of interest. Agenda item 4. There is just one matter to be considered by the subcommittee this morning. This is item number 4 on the agenda, which is an application made under the Licensing Act 2003 for the variation of a premises licence in respect of the Blues Bar and Bistro, 19 to 23 Moor Lane, Crosby. The applicant is Mr. Keith Downs. Is Mr. Downs here?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you intend to call any witnesses?
No.
Okay. A petition in objection to this application has been received from an interested party. The lead petitioner is Mr. McLean. Is Mr. McLean here, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you intend to address the subcommittee?
No. My name is Jeff Jones. I'll be addressing the committee. I'm also signatory to the document. Okay.
Oh, I was going to come to you. Well, I understand Mr. Jones is going to speak on your behalf. I'm sorry about that. Mr. Jones, could you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Jeff Jones. I'm a resident in Grove Court, which is at the end of Moor Lane.
Thank you very much. You have seen a copy of the procedure and the agenda of the subcommittee we'll be following today. Are there any questions or issues that anyone wishes to raise regarding the procedure? If so, use the Teams hands facility. I'll invite you to speak. Nobody? Right. As detailed in the procedure, the subcommittee has given some initial consideration to this application and the representations received. The subcommittee is of the view that the issues to be determined today are under the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance, the protection of children from harm and public safety. 1, whether a variation of the premises licence should be granted, and 2, if so, what hours are appropriate, And 3, if so, whether any conditions should be imposed, and 4, if so, what these conditions should be. Do you agree to these issues to be determined?
Yes.
The applicants have also agreed an additional condition to additional conditions being inserted into the license. This being in response to the representations received from Merseyside Police and subsequent negotiations. As a result of this agreement, the representations have been formally withdrawn. Please note that the subcommittee does not consider issues relating to planning matters and is not therefore prepared to hear any representations on these issues. I would ask beforehand, therefore, that you address just the agreed issues when making your presentations and calling your evidence. Are there any preliminary issues anyone wishes to raise? And if so, please indicate using the hands raised facility. No. Thank you. Now we can proceed with the applicant's case. I invite Mr. Keith Jones to speak.
It's Mr. Downs, Chair.
Mr. Downs, I'm sorry. Mr. Downs.
Hi, my name's Keith Downs, owner, manager of Blues Bar and Crosby. We've been basically one of the longest serving bars in the village. We've been in the village for 25 years now. I'm actually the longest serving licensee within Sefton. And basically, obviously, we've had a dramatic year this year, obviously being closed. So basically, we've had to look at obviously various ways that basically to help the business survive, basically. So we've got to look to see obviously how we can try and increase our revenue streams. I mean, we've had no assistance from our landlords. Our landlords have been actually quite aggressive and quite threatening if we haven't paid our rent on time. Obviously, we've had good assistance from the government that has helped us, but from the basically a little bit of downtime, basically I've had to look at how we can basically increase our revenue and keep the business to survive, basically. I mean, we're the biggest independent employer in Sefton. We currently employ 25 people. So basically that's the crux of basically of why we've actually gone for a variant in our licence. I mean, and we've never had any objections or any problems with the police. We're a well-established, well-run bar. I mean, and there are later licences within the village. I mean, literally across the road, the bar called Frankie's has got the same hours to us, but have only been open 2 years. And I don't understand why, if the objectors, why didn't they object to their licence application? Why have they just come after us now? The village pub down the road has got a later licence, and there was no objection against that. So I don't understand why this objection has gone in. And I haven't really got much more to say. Obviously, I answer some questions if anybody want to question me on that. I mean, but that is basically the crux of it. Is basically that's what we've had to do. Is basically that we've had no income for 12 months, and we've had to look to see how we can increase our revenue. I think there's not a major demand. I mean, there is a demand there. And also, as well as to say that we've been established 25 years. Since then, you, the committee, have granted 16 other licences around the village. Some outside the village, some in the village. But there's 16 other premises opened. Basically, I don't actually class them as competitors, because I think to make the village more vibrant, it's good. And I think that the village will actually become more of a venue, very much like we have in Lark Lane and Liverpool. I think the village over time will, because basically there's nothing else that's going to ever come to the high street. But unfortunately, and I mean, Grove Court is a lovely establishment, but those residents have decided to buy those properties in that area, which is Crosby Village is a district centre. They have chose to come there. They knew Blues Bar was there. As I say, we've been there 25 years. Grove Court has only been there, what, two and a half years? And we've got a new development coming just on the end to the left of us, which is a lot closer to Grove Court. Are they going to object against that? Okay.
Is that it, Mr. Zounds? Yes.
For now, yes.
Okay. Do any of the interested parties have any questions to ask the applicant? If so, please indicate using the chat facility, please. Raised hand. No? No? Do any members of the subcommittee have any questions they wish to ask the applicant? Councillor O'Brien? Councillor O'Brien.
I was just going to ask about the reason why it's got to be the provision of regular entertainment till 3 o'clock in the morning. That's a little bit late to me. By the time it finishes at 3 and leave, you're talking 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, well, maybe that's an error. That's an error. That's not something we've applied for. When you say regulated, is this just background music? Is it not live music? Obviously.
No.
It just under the provision of regular entertainment, recorded music till 3. That's Friday, Saturday, I know.
That's an error. I mean, we haven't done that. I mean, obviously we'd like to serve till 2 a.m. but not obviously play music. I mean, that's an error in the application. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Sorry, Chair, I haven't got my hand up. It's Fiona.
Oh, okay, Fiona, please.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Kelly. Through you, Chair. Can I just confirm? Do you mean it's an error you've made the error? The council made the error.
Must be an error in my application. I apologise for that.
So what was your intention for the record?
Well, we just play music till basically till 2 a.m. till the same as our licensing hours. Obviously not afterwards, because obviously then we're trying to close down, and obviously
well, that's what we said, wasn't it?
Can we clarify the hours open to the public then? What time was that intention on a Thursday, Friday and Saturday, just to be clear?
Thursday is 12 o'clock. Friday is 2 a.m. and Saturday is 2 a.m.
To open to the public or the alcohol?
But both is the same, isn't it? The same.
Well, you normally have normally people have are selling alcohol at till say 1 o'clock, and then they don't open to the public till 1:30 for drinking up time. Yeah. So can I just double check? So let's just be clear here. You've made an application for varying of the sale of retail of alcohol off and on. Friday and Saturday, you want it till 2 a.m.
Yes.
Sunday till 11.
Yes.
Right. And then for the recorded music, we've sorted that out. You only wanted that till 2. And then in relation to open to the public, on a Thursday, you've asked for till 1 o'clock.
Because the license hours we've applied for 12, haven't we? So it's an hour. It's an hour after service, isn't it, for people to?
Well, we've got on a Thursday. We've got the sale of alcohol of retail. No change. You've just got that till midnight anyway, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but you wanted an hour's drinking up time, basically, then, didn't you? That's what you've asked for.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on a Friday and Saturday, again, you've asked for an hour's drinking up time. So you've asked till 3.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Just to be clear. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Councillor Thompson, you've got no questions?
No, thank you for that clarification. It makes it a lot clearer now as to the model that you'll be operating. So I've got no further questions on that. No.
Thank you, Mr. Downs. Now we'll hear the representations from by the interested parties. Each member has noted the petition and read the letter of the objection submitted by Mr. McLean. The subcommittee will be interested to hear why you think the issues set out in your letter will occur. The applicant will be able to ask you questions on what has been said and what has been written. As Mr. McLean has indicated, they would like Mr. Jones to speak on their behalf. I will call him first. Mr. Jones, this is your opportunity to address the subcommittee and tell us your concerns and what steps you think the subcommittee should take. Mr. Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. Our objection was basically towards the extension of the opening hours till 3 o'clock, or the premises being open till 3 o'clock. But it seems that that's possibly not going to be the case. However, there is still a concern amongst the residents of Grove Court that the noise problem will be higher than it currently is. We've already seen incidents occurring outside Grove Court and in the road, in the entrance to the car park which runs alongside Home Bargain, and they have included people getting in fights as well as people using both the wall of Home and Bargain and the area around the front gates as urinals. Now I understand that that is without the power of the owner of the Blues Bar, but that pattern of behaviour has been going on for some time, and we do not see the extension of the hours making it any easier for people. And we do have many of our residents who are unable to sleep, particularly at the weekends. They are all over the age of 60, and they range up to some people who are 90 years of age. So that's the concern. The major concern is about the impact it's going to have when people queue for taxis, when people are leaving the area. So whilst we can sympathise with the owner of the Blues Bar, it is a problem for the residents of Grove Court. And I think I cannot say more than that at this stage.
Mr. Downs, do you have any questions you wish to ask the
I would obviously, I'm concerned as well, obviously, if people obviously do what Mr. Jones is saying, but surely, it's a bit of a strange accusation, isn't it, that he's saying? So if our premises open, he's saying people are leaving our premises that we've got more than adequate, nice, clean toilets, leaving our premises to walk down the road to then use the wall. It's nonsense. I mean, why would somebody do that? And if they did, they should be reprimanded for doing that. If we're open, surely they would use our facilities rather than going around the corner. And this is to say, I've been in the village for 25 years, and when we had
Mr. Jones, please, Fiona.
It was just to remind Mr. Downs, this is the opportunity for you to ask questions of what Mr. Jones has said, and then at the end you will get a chance to do a summing up, which is it's just questions of Mr. Jones really at this stage. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Well, I'd like to ask Mr. Jones, how long has he lived in Grove Court?
A little over 12 months.
12 months. So you've decided to buy
25 years. I think if you listen to what I'd said, I talked about people when they were going for taxis after leaving the venues in the village. I specifically made the point that I didn't say it was just your customers.
Yeah, I understand that. And
Mr. Jones,
Mr. Jones, I am as concerned as you are. I mean, as a licensee of basically of the village, we want everything to work together and be the better for everybody. I mean, I'm as disgusted as you are with that behaviour, but we need to work together to address that. We've got no public toilets in the village, and I've campaigned for years that we could have some there. We should have a taxi rank. Now, surely the taxi rank should be behind the Blues Bar. And I've petitioned many a times. I mean, that why can't we have on Allengate a proper manned taxi rank, which is cameraed up, lit, possibly a public toilet or even a portaloos or something that would help everybody. I mean, as I say, I'm as disgusted as you are of people doing that. But if we're open, I mean, during the day, we have lots of people, families coming in with young children that want to use the toilet. We've always allowed it. We've never, ever said they can't.
Chair, may I come back?
Mr. Jones, go on.
I understand that entirely, and your idea of a taxi rank behind the Blues Bar, I think, is a good one. But this is not the planning committee. This is the licensing committee, yes. And I was asked to make the case. I've made it. I'm glad that you agree that it is a problem. We need to find a solution to that problem. Yes. And more than that, I can't actually say at the moment. The length of time I've lived here is irrelevant. There are things happening. It's irrelevant. There are things happening which shouldn't happen in any civilized town. Good Lord, this is civilized. You know yourself. You've been here 25 years.
I totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree with Mr. Jones.
Okay. Do you have any more questions, Mr. Downs?
No.
Do any members of the subcommittee have any questions for Mr. Jones, please? Councillor O'Brien.
Yes, Chair. It's for both of you, really. Just a suggestion. Could you
either to Mr. Jones, or Mr.
Mr. Downs, then please. Could we make a suggestion that you could put some sort of...
This is questions from Councillor O'Brien. This is
I'm sorry.
Mr. Jones.
Could you possibly put some sort of a notice in where he lives to say that there's amenities to be used at the Blues Bar?
Sorry?
Is there a notice board or anything that could say that there's amenities that could be used at the Blues Bar rather than using the outside as a urinal?
Sorry,
sorry. This is Councillor O'Brien. This has nothing to do with the application. This is something that's happening when people are going home, I presume, or they're waiting for taxis.
Oh, okay, I'll take my suggestion away.
Okay, Councillor Thompson. Do you have any questions, please?
Can I just ask if there has been issues away from the Blues Bar? Do we have any history of that, or any record that police have been called, or?
The reality is that on occasions the police have been called, but very often, if you're not looking out the window, you don't actually see, particularly what people urinating against the wall is not sort of what people want to look out and see. Equally, sometimes you don't find there was a problem until you're going out the gates first thing in the morning. The wall is covered with sick.
Okay.
So
the reason I'm asking.
Sorry, please. This is not the fault of Mr. Downs.
I know that. I've said that.
Yeah.
I accept that. I fully understand that. I was asked the question, I answered the question, I'm now being asked a different question, but I accept that it's nothing to do with the main problem. I'm not sorry, it is not a problem, it is the application in itself, and already we've seen that has been altered, so it's really just late in the evening was always the problem. from the perspective of the people who live here.
Okay. Any more questions from Mr. Jones?
Chair, could
Councillor
I just
Thompson.
ask for a little bit more clarification from Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Because there was a reference to fights, which I would imagine if there was a fight outside or issues on the street that were concerning residents, as a resident myself, I would certainly contact the police over that. So there's just that reference there to not just urinating, but there was fights. Do we have any history on that?
When we were thinking, when we first saw the notice, somebody said there had been a fight. I cannot put a number on how many fights, but there have been, I chose to call them altercations because I don't know whether they were reported to the police or not, but I fully accept they are not the fault of the blues bar or its owner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Mr. Jones, have you said everything you wish to say?
Yes.
Mr. Jones, would you like to please sum up?
I'm summing up. Right. The point we have made is that the extension of the licensing hours will push the noise problem to later in the evening. Now, we are hearing that it is perhaps not as bad as we originally thought, but I think there is an issue, and I think the idea that Mr. Downs came up with of moving the taxi rank, as we might call it, to behind the blues bar is something that should be considered and thought about and perhaps changed in some way.
Yeah.
I think it was a very good idea.
Thank you. Mr. McLean, do you wish to address the subcommittee, please?
So, no.
No? Thank you. Mr. Downs, do you have any questions you wish to ask the interested parties? I think you've already asked them, right? No, nobody wishes to speak to Mr. McLean. Right, so we go on. Have you all had sufficient opportunities to say everything you wish to say in support of your representation? Mr. Downs, yes. Will you please sum up, please?
Basically, obviously, I'm more than willing to sit down with the residents of Grove Court to try to help with these issues, to say that I'm as concerned as anybody else. I'm a local resident myself. I live in the area, and I don't want to see these actions happen. But there are, as I said, there are now 16 to 17 other outlets within the village, and as I've said, I think the biggest issue is the taxi pickup area, and it's something that I've tried to address for several years, but we don't have a pub committee anymore, so we're all sort of working individually now. But maybe it's something that, with the residents of Grove Court, that we could obviously try and create a committee together to be able to address these issues, because I do think that the village will become more and more a late night economy, because there's nothing that is going to be on the high street anymore. We're losing shops and units daily. Look at Thornby Village now. Thornby Village is decimated. There's nothing there, and we don't want that to happen to the village. It should become an area for antisocial behaviour if there's nothing there. So the late time economy can work, but we need to work together. I mean, a lot of our customers are local residents, would live within half a mile away from the premises. I've not heard any objections from Avon Court, Richmond Road, and there's been no objections for any of those residents, as far as to my knowledge.
I just ask you a quick question, Mr. Downs. How close Richmond Court to the Blues Bar?
Grove Court.
Grove Court, I should say.
Grove
Richmond
Court is probably what? 500 yards, 750 yards away.
200.
Not even 200. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
100 yards, if that's.
Right. Okay. Mr. Jones, you've had sufficient opportunity to say everything you wish to say in support of the application.
Yes, I just need to clarify one thing. I think you'll find that Grove Court is less than 100 yards from.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I was just trying to get an idea where it is.
In fact,
Okay.
if you look at the map that's at the back of the papers, you'll see Grove Court is just off the edge of the map. You can see where Home Bargains is, and Grove Court is just across the way from there.
Okay. Thank you. Right. Mr. Downs, have you had sufficient opportunity to say everything you wish to say in support of your application?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Downs. Right. Seeing there's nothing else. In order to give due consideration to the representations made to the subcommittee, we must decide whether it is in the public interest to exclude the public from the next part of the meeting, to allow the subcommittee to reach a decision on whether the meeting should continue in public. If members wish to continue we will remain or leave in the room. Right. The subcommittee will, under regulation 14.2, leave the meeting. When we have made our decision, we will return and announce the decision and the reasons for that decision. Will Mrs. Townsend please accompany us? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. It's working.
Hi everyone. We'll be back in at 12:30. So if you want to just keep your mics and cameras off until then, that'd be great. Thank you. Bye.
12:30.
It's almost.
Hey. Somebody with that one has disappeared.
Hi, Ruth. Yes. Yeah, go on.
Hello, Chair. We're ready to start.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Kelly, did you, couldn't hear the noise. Have we started the meeting?
We're just about to start it now, Fiona.
Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. The subcommittee has made its decision on the application for the grant of a premises license in respect of the Blues Bar and Bistro, 19 to 23 Moor Lane, Crosby, L23 2SE. Can I ask our legal advisor, Mrs. Townsend, to read out the decision? Fiona, please. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chair. It's resolved that the application for a variation of the premises licence of Blues Bar and Bistro be granted as follows. Licensable activities applied for. The sale of alcohol by retail on and off the premises, Monday to Wednesday, 11 AM to 2300 hours. Thursday, 11 to midnight. Friday and Saturday, 11 AM till 2 AM. Sunday, 11 AM to 2300 hours. That's 11 PM. Provision of regulated entertainment, live music, Monday to Sunday, 10 AM to 11 PM. The provision of regulated entertainment, recorded music, Monday to Wednesday, 10 AM to 11 PM. Thursday, 10 AM to midnight. Friday and Saturday, 10 AM to 2 AM. And Sunday, 10 AM till midnight. Hours of premises to be open to the public. Monday to Wednesday, 10 AM till midnight. Thursday, 10 AM till 1 AM. Friday and Saturday, 10 AM to 2:30 AM. And Sunday, 10 AM till midnight. The reasons being that the subcommittee has heard representations from the applicant, Mr. Downs, and has heard the objections from the interested parties and considered the petition received from local residents objecting to the application. The subcommittee is cognizant that no representations were received from any of the responsible authorities, such as the Council's Environmental Health Department, and that the conditions put forward by Merseyside Police had been agreed. Whilst the subcommittee has sympathy for the residents' concerns regarding antisocial behaviour in the area, it has not heard or seen any evidence that can be attributed to this particular premises. The subcommittee is satisfied that the applicant has sufficient knowledge and experience of the licensing trade and has evidenced his respect for local residents and the community and attempts to engage with the interested parties at this hearing and making suggestions for collaborative working as a community in the future. The subcommittee is pleased to note this and hopes that this will continue. The subcommittee also welcomes the fact that the applicant had reduced the hours that recorded music would be played until 2 AM on a Friday and Saturday. And the subcommittee wish to remind the residents and interested parties that they have the right to request a review of the premises licence should their concerns come to fruition. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Fiona. That concludes the business of the Licensing Subcommittee for today, and the meeting will now close. Thank you to everyone for their attendance, in particular the interested parties who have made representations to the subcommittee and members of the public who viewed the meeting online. Thank you all for your cooperation and take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.